published, 1748 EDT, the 7th of May 2018, updated, 347 EDT, the 8th of May 2018. The first murder victim on Britain's bloody bank holiday weekend of 11. Gun, knife and acid attacks was a rapper on London's drill scene enthusiastically promoted by former BBC DJ Tim Westwood, it was revealed today. Raheem Ainsworth Barton was a member of the masked Moscow 17 crew from Kennington who were involved in a violent feud with rivals from nearby Peckham. The 17-year-old, who was shot dead in the street on Saturday, appeared in a mask alongside Westwood last year in a rap video viewed on YouTube more than 170,000 times. Westwood called Moscow 17 legendary before they rapped about splashing rivals, slang for stabbing someone repeatedly until they pour with blood, and bragged the gang is known for capping its enemies, street language for shooting someone. Raheem, who used the name GB, was also on the leaked list of rappers Scotland Yard believed was promoting violence and goading rivals in online videos, according to The Times. Yesterday, his mother Pridana Morgan scrubbed her son's blood from the Southwark street where he was shot in the chest on Saturday and called for an end to gang violence. Her son's murder was one of 5 shootings in London over the bank holiday weekend, including a botched drive-by where a 13-year-old was blasted in the face as he walked along the high street in Harrow with his parents. There were also 3 fatal stabbings in Liverpool, Luton, and Macclesfield, Cheshire. Raheem Ainsworth Barton, right, was a member of the masked Moscow 17 crew from Kennington promoted by former BBC DJ Tim Westwood. The 17-year-old, circled, who was shot dead in the street on Saturday, appeared in a mask alongside Westwood last year in a rap video viewed on YouTube more than 170,000 times. A weekend of violence in the capital kicked off when Raheem, pictured, was fatally gunned down in Southwark on Saturday. Pridana Morgan, whose 17-year-old son Raheem Ainsworth Barton was shot dead in South London on Saturday, returned to the scene yesterday to scrub his blood from the pavement. Violent incidents were recorded across the UK through the bank holiday weekend. Raheem's murder emerged after paramedics and police were called to reports of gunshots on Cooks Road in Kennington, South London, on Saturday at just after 6 p.m. Drill music, a hip-hop subgenre, is driving the feuding. Gang war in London, community leaders have warned. Hundreds of videos on YouTube feature UK rappers threatening and provoking people from rival areas. To drill means to fight or scrap, and the violent lyrics focus on gang life, drugs, guns and killing. In one video viewed nearly 3 million times, rapper Digga D boasts about having to bleach his knife after using it to attack someone. In another, entitled Mummy's Kitchen, rappers Losky and Masky, who are thought to be Londoners, boast about taking a blade from the family home. In the videos, which are filmed across the city, performers take care to ensure their faces are covered. The link with fatal attacks committed against young Londoners is made clear under the videos on YouTube, where commentators speculate about which groups were responsible. Raheem was found on nearby Warham Street with a gunshot injury. The 17-year-old rapper had so much potential, his mother said as she tearfully told of her handsome boy. Ms. Morgan called for a stop to the violence. Speaking at the scene of the crime on Sunday, she said, "Let my son be the last and be an example to everyone. Just let it stop. What must be, must be." Ms. Morgan said her son was not in a gang and he had been trying to make a difference by learning to work with children. The following day, an innocent boy of 13 was accidentally shot in their head as he walked through Wealdstone, northwest London, with his parents. The boy was the youngest victim of the wave of gun, knife, and acid attacks across Britain over a bloody bank holiday weekend. The teenager was an innocent bystander who had been walking down the street with his parents in Harrow, northwest London, when he was hit by shotgun pellets. He was caught in the crossfire when a 15-year-old was attacked. At around 1:15 p.m. on Sunday in High Street, Wealdstone, Scotland Yard said the older boy was found to have suffered head injuries, caused by a number of shotgun pellets. Police were alerted to the second boy injured nearby minutes after the 13-year-old boy. Detective Chief Superintendent Simon Rose, Harrow Borough Commander, said, "It would appear that the first victim was approached by two male suspects, one in possession of a shotgun, and shots were fired, injuring him and an entirely innocent member of the public. This was a callous, reckless and brazen act, without any thought by those responsible for the fact that there were families with children and people in the high street enjoying their weekend. This was quite simply appalling." Fatah Warsame died after being stabbed in Liverpool city centre early on Sunday morning. Fatah, from Cardiff, was knifed in the chest in Hanover Street at around 4 a.m. on a bloody bank holiday weekend in the UK. A 13-year-old boy who survived being accidentally shot in the head is the youngest person caught in a wave of attacks across Britain over a bloody bank holiday weekend. A 13-year-old boy who survived being accidentally shot in the head is the youngest person caught in a wave of attacks across Britain over a bloody bank holiday weekend. Pictured, officers at the scene in Harrow Saturday 6:05 p.m. Raheem Ainsworth Barton is found shot dead in Warham Street in Southwark, South London Sunday 4 am. Fatah Warsame, 20, from Cardiff, was fatally attacked on Hanover Street in Liverpool city centre 5:20 am. 3 men, 17, 22, and 27, are injured after a noxious substance thrown over them in Dalston, East London 1:15 p.m. Two boys, aged 13 and 15, shot in Harrow, northwest London. It is thought a third person sustained an arm injury, but he left prior to the arrival of the emergency services. 4:40 p.m. Waryam Hussain, 20, was stabbed to death in Bishopscote Road in Luton. 6:30 p.m. A 22-year-old was found with gunshot wounds in New Cross Road in southeast London. 8:50 p.m. A 37-year-old man was stabbed to death in Macclesfield, Cheshire. 9 p.m. A 43-year-old man was stabbed in the neck on Buckingham Avenue, Perivale, West London. Monday. 2:45 p.m. A man was taken to hospital after being shot in Clayton, Manchester. His condition was not known. 4:40 p.m. A 30-year-old is shot in New Cross, southeast London. His condition is not believed to be life-threatening. 4:50 p.m. A victim, who is thought to be 17, is stabbed and laced on Stone Road in East London. His condition was initially deemed critical, but is now thought to be not life-threatening both. Teenagers suffered non-life-threatening injuries, and the younger one has been released from hospital. Officers have also been made aware of a possible third victim who may have been at the scene with the 15-year-old boy. It is thought he sustained an arm injury, but he left prior to the arrival of the emergency services. A 39-year-old man arrested on the evening of May 6 in connection with the incident has been released under investigation. Extra police officers, supported by armed units, are patrolling the streets of London in a bid to combat the violence. Police have said extra patrols worked on bank holiday Monday to keep the capital's streets safe. Detective Chief Superintendent Simon Messenger said, "The violence used has rightly caused concern and we are doing all we can to address this. Over the bank holiday weekend, additional officers are on the streets across the capital, working hard to keep London safe. They are using highly visible local patrols, supported by armed response, traffic motorcycles, dog units and air support, alongside plainclothes intelligence-led operations. Violence has no place on our streets. Raheem's death is the latest in a spate of violent crimes in the capital, as police investigate more than 60 alleged murders so far this year. Official statistics released in April showed the number of homicides in London had surged by 44% in the last year. Mr. Messenger said officers were using search powers to seize knives and to stop weapons being carried in cars. Raheem's mother, Pridana Morgan, pictured, has called for a stop to the violence. Raheem was the 62nd victim to be killed in the capital this year after London's murder rate overtook New York's in February and March. Raheem Ainsworth Barton was found with fatal gunshot wounds in Warham Street, Southwark at 6:05 p.m. on Saturday. 3 men, aged 17, 22, and 27, were injured in a suspected acid attack as they left a gay bar in Dalston, East London. Police are investigating if the victims suffered life-changing injuries after a noxious substance was hurled at them in Shacklewell Lane in Hackney in the early hours of Sunday morning. The assault followed an altercation between two groups in East London at around 5:20 a.m. The violence continued in the capital when a 43-year-old was stabbed in Perryvale, northwest London, on Sunday night after a dispute about driving. Police said the man was attacked on Buckingham Avenue at around 9 p.m. after a number of residents questioned a man in a blue car about the nature of his driving in the small residential street. Then, just before 6:30 p.m. on Sunday, police were flagged down by a member of the public in New Cross Road, southeast London, where a 22-year-old man was suffering from gunshot wounds. The injured man was taken by ambulance to a central London hospital where his condition is not life-threatening, Scotland Yard said. Elsewhere, 3 men died in stabbings in Liverpool, Luton, and Macclesfield during the bank holiday weekend. A 22-year-old man was shot in New Cross in South London, pictured. On Monday evening officers responded to to reports of a stabbing in Leytonstone Road in East London at around 4:40 p.m. on Monday. Pictured, the scene after the stabbing. The victim, who is believed to be 17, was taken to an East London hospital. His condition was initially deemed critical, but is now thought to be not life-threatening. Fatawar 20, from Cardiff, died after being stabbed in Liverpool city centre early on Sunday morning. Another victim, also aged 20, was killed in Bishopscote Road in Luton that evening. Also on Sunday night, a 37-year-old man was stabbed to death in Macclesfield. A 15-year-old boy and a 29-year-old man have been arrested. On Monday, armed police were locked in a standoff with a gunman in Oxford following a dramatic shootout. Shots were fired from a residential property in Paradise Square and armed response officers returned fire. Armed officers descended on a residential property in Oxford city centre after witnesses reported hearing up to 5 gunshots on Monday. Armed police were locked in a standoff with a gunman in Oxford following a dramatic shootout. Armed officers descended on the property at around 1:15 p.m. after witnesses reported hearing up to 5 gunshots. More than 8 hours later, a siege remained underway, with officers continuing to negotiate with the gunman. Meanwhile, in Clayton, East Manchester, a teenager was taken to hospital after being shot in front of friends at a Bank Holiday Street barbecue. He was rushed to hospital after being blasted in the leg at 2:45 p.m. Police said he was being treated for a serious injury, but his condition is not thought to be life-threatening. It is understood the victim, who is in his late teens, was with a group of friends drinking and eating on a patch of grass outside a house on Vale Street when a gunman opened fire. Police said it was unclear whether the shooter was on foot or in a car at the time. In Clayton, East Manchester, pictured, police said a man was taken to hospital after being shot at 2:45 p.m. on Monday. His condition was not known. Also on Monday, officers responded to reports of a stabbing in Leytonstone Road in East London at around 4:40 p.m. The victim, who is believed to be 17, was taken to an East London hospital. His condition was initially deemed critical, but is now thought to be not life-threatening. Detectives from Newham Sid are investigating. No arrests have been made. Just 10 minutes after that incident, police were called to a shooting in John Williams Close in New Cross, South London. A 30-year-old man was treated at the scene before being taken to a South London hospital. His condition is not believed to be life-threatening. No arrests have been made. A Metropolitan Police spokesman told Mail Online it is believed the victim may have been working as a food delivery driver when the incident occurred. Home Secretary Sajid Javid said he was determined to tackle the spate of violence that was robbing too many young people of their futures. Tragic death toll. The rising number of lives taken on the streets of London in 2018. January, 12 deaths, including one late on December 31st. The 31st of December, Khyal Parnell, 17, stabbed to death in Lambeth. 1 January, Steve Frank Navazarias, 20, stabbed in the chest on New Year's Day at a flat party in a council estate off Old Street in Islington, North London. After moving to the UK from Ecuador, the 20-year-old was reading physics and aerospace at Hertfordshire University and hoped to become a pilot. 3 January, Elizabeth Locata Sue, 44, found bleeding to death on Norfolk Road, in Ilford, after she had her throat slashed. She worked at a restaurant in the East London town and was returning home when she was stabbed to death. 6 January, VJ Patel, 49. Mr. Patel was beaten to death in Barnet. Yambai, 26, was stabbed in Hackney on January 28, left. Right, Daniel Frederick, 34, was killed meters from his home in Hackney after attending a hospital appointment for his pregnant partner on January 88. January, Daniel Frederick, 34, Daniel was killed meters from his home in Hackney after attending a hospital appointment for his pregnant partner. 9 January, Damiodingbo, 18, stabbed in Bromley. 11 January, Harry Azoka, 25, Harry, who was on the books of Premier Model Management and had modelled for brands including Mercedes and Zara, was stabbed in Shepherd's Bush. Neighbours reported a shout of "hand it over" in the melee which involved several men. 24 January, Syed Azim Khan, age unknown, died from a head injury in Redbridge. Kader Saleh, 25, left, was stabbed in the Hammersmith and Fulham area on January 31. Right, Damiodingbo, 18, was stabbed in Bromley on January 928. January, Yambai, 26, stabbed in Hackney. 29 January, Wanol Mossaka, 39, died 6 days after being found stabbed at an address in Peckham. 31 January, Lily Mai St George, 1-year-old Lily Mai was found dead in Haringey. The Met Police say her cause of death remains unknown. 31 January, Kader Saleh, 25, the 25-year-old was stabbed in the Hammersmith and Fulham area. February, 14 deaths. 3 February, Kwabena Nelson, 22, ambushed in Tottenham in the early hours where he was fatally stabbed. 3 February, Hassanuz Khan, 19, stabbed to death in Abbey Road, Barking. 5 February, Wanol Mossaka, died in hospital after being stabbed in Peckham. 8 February, Hannah Leonard, 55, fatally stabbed in Braze Tower, Primrose Hill. 11 February, Sabri Chibani, 19, stabbed in Streatham Common. 12 February, Bulent Kabala, 41, the taxi driver was shot dead in a targeted hit on a roundabout in Barnet. Elizabeth Locata Sue, 44, was found bleeding to death on Norfolk Road, in Ilford, after she had her throat slashed on January 313. February, Syeda Hussain, 54, found with critical injuries at an address in Ilford and pronounced dead at the scene. 14 February, Promise Nkenda, 17, fatally stabbed in Newham, East London. 15 February, Mark Smith, 48, Mr. Smith was found injured in Chingford, and died shortly afterwards. 17 February, Lewis Blackman, 19, Lewis, who grew up on the Beckwater estate in Kentish Town, was killed in Kensington. Witnesses told how a gang of about 8 youths, some armed with sticks, shouted "Let's chase him down," before he was stabbed. 17 February, Joseph Bokai, 30, Joseph was beaten up in the street in Greenwich and died in hospital. Hannah Leonard, who was 55, was found dead on February 9 in a flat in Camden, North London. 19 February, Rotimi Oshibanjo, 26. Rotimi was fatally stabbed inside a property in the Halliday Square housing estate. 20 February, Sadiq Mohammed, 20. The aspiring accountant was found with serious stab wounds in Malden Road, in Belsize Park. 20 February, Abdikarim Hassan, 17. Abdikarim died in the street after being attacked in Camden. 20 February, name unknown, 24, shot in Westminster. 25 February, Michael Boyle, 44, stabbed in Southwark. Mr. Boyle, from Galashiels, Scotland, died of multiple organ failure after being stabbed at a property in Southwark. He was found on February 25 but died on March 10. March, 23 deaths. 1 March, Christopher Beaumont, 42, stabbed in Hammersmith and Fulham. 5 March, Kelver Smith, 20, found stabbed in South Norwood, Croydon and pronounced dead at the scene. 5 March, Laura Cecilia Navarrete de Figueira, 47, police launched a murder investigation after Laura Cecilia Navarrete de Figueira was found with stab wounds at her home in Twickenham. An hour earlier, the body of her husband Figueira de Faria and the bodies of Claudio, 10, and Joaquin, 7, were discovered on the beach at Burling Gap, in Eastbourne, East Sussex. 8 March, Kelvin Odanayi, 19, shot in Haringey. 12 March, Julian Joseph, 36, murdered in Lewisham, cause of death as yet unknown. 13 March, Nikolai Glushkov, 68, Russian businessman, was found dead in his home in New Malden. He died from compression to the neck. 14 March, Lyndon Davis, 18, the youngest to have been killed in March, was found suffering from a single stab wound in Chadwell Heath, East London. 14 March, Joseph Williams Dorres, 20, killed as he sat in a stationary car in Essex Close, Walthamstow. 16 March, Naomi Hersey, 36, stabbed in Hounslow. Hersey, who lived as a trans woman called Naomi, was pronounced dead at the scene after being found with knife injuries in Hounslow. 17 March, Russell Jones, 23, ambushed outside shops near Bonders End Station, in Enfield and stabbed and shot to death. 18 March, Tyrone Silkett, 42, the father of 2, died from knife wounds after a St. Patrick's Day party. It is alleged the car mechanic got into a row over 2 girls at a party in Homerton and was attacked. 19 March, Balbir Yohal, 48, died after being stabbed in Southall. Hersey, left, who lived as a trans woman called Naomi, was pronounced dead at the scene after being found with knife injuries at Heathrow Palace in Hounslow. Russell Jones, 23, became the 8th person in a week to be killed in London when he was ambushed outside shops near Bonders End Station, Enfield Reed. 19 March, Jermaine Johnson, 41, found with stab injuries and pronounced dead at the scene in Walthamstow. 20 March, Benjamin P. 20, believed to have jumped into the fight in a bid to save his friend during the altercation at the Stratford Centre in East London. The 20-year-old, who only arrived in Britain 2 months ago from Romania, died in his best friend's arms after being chased and stabbed by a gang in the busy shopping centre. 25 March, Abraham Badru, 26, gunned down in Hackney. the university graduate, who was murdered in Dalston, East London, was awarded the National Police Bravery Award in July. 200,925 March. Awaiting formal ID, 59, person found dead in Barking and Dagenham. 26 March. David Potter, 50, found stabbed to death in a property on Tooting High Street. 29 March. Rhys Chomer, 23, Rhys, from Barking in East London, was stabbed in the neck in Greenwich before being rushed to hospital by his friend, where he died. 30 March. Layla Mtumoa, 36, Layla was found dead with stab wounds to the neck and chest at an address in Haringey. April. At least 11 deaths. 1 April. Devoy Stapleton, stabbed at as he made his way home from a night out in Wandsworth. Police found him in a pool of his own blood after being called to the middle-class suburb of Earlsfield, southwest London. 2 April. Tanisha Melbourne, 17, Tanisha was gunned down near her home in Tottenham, North London, in front of horrified friends and family. It is thought she was caught in the crossfire of a ruthless gang war. 2 April. Arman Shako, 16, the teenager was shot in the face in Walthamstow, North London, and police have now confirmed he died from his injuries in hospital. 4 April. Henry Vincent, 37, burglary, who died from stab wound after raiding pensioner's house. 4 April. Babatunde Akintio Awolfso dies after row on Upper Clapton Road, East London. The 4th of April. Israel Ogunsola, 18, dies in Hackney after being stabbed. The victim approached police, who performed first aid, but he died at the scene after 25 minutes. The 12th of April. John McLean, 35, stabbed at a flat in the Isle of Dogs. A 25-year-old has been charged with his murder. The 15th of April. Raoul Nicolay, 26, found it with stab injuries in Colindale, North London. A 34-year-old woman was arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder. 15 April, an unnamed woman in her 30s was stabbed to death in Sutbourne Road, Brixton, South London. A man in his 20s has been arrested on suspicion of murder. 16 April, Sami Saddam, 18, is stabbed to death in the street in Forest Gate. 21 April, man, 20, named locally as Kwesi, was stabbed to death about 100 yards from Jeremy Corbyn's home in North London. 23 April, Aaron Springett, 32, died after a street fight outside Paddy Power Bookies in Morden. May 1, a man in his 30s is shot dead outside Queensbury Tube Station. May 5, Raheem Ainsworth Barton was murdered on Warham Street, Southwark.